Everyone, it's Helen from Journaling Planet, and today I'm going to use every single part of this tiny cereal box and this inside plastic as well. Now, when I say every bit, I'm going to use absolutely every single bit of the card except maybe some little corners that I trim off. And I'm going to endeavour to use every bit of this plastic, or as much of it as I can, because this is the bit I really don't want to go to recycling, because this I don't think this can be recycled, this part of the box. It still needs a wash, so that's something I'll do in a moment. But first of all, I am going to start with the card, and I'm going to cut it up and see what components I'm working with. Okay, slight rearrange of the camera, and I've cut up all of the cereal box so I can see the shapes easily that I'm working with. I can see that those bits would make some nice top of some index cards. So I'm going to put those to one side. I don't want to use these for index cards. I'm going to use them for something else. You know, that could be a little tuck or pocket. That could be a belly band. I don't know about these yet. I'm going to have a think. I don't want to waste anything because that's the challenge. So I have to use it all. But again, they could make quite nice tabs. So I'm just going to put those to one side whilst I work on these ones, which I have decided. I have this little vintage ephemera kind of photograph. And what I'd like to do is create a sort of photo frame, cutting out a centerpiece here in this piece and then layering them over the top, decorating the top layer before sticking it down. So first thing I need to do is, I don't know why I'm looking for the front, as if it matters which side I draw and it doesn't. So I'm going to, this is not going to be exact, but if I can find my pencil, I'm going to draw around this and essentially make a guide for cutting around. Okay, I only have a pen handy, but that is okay because no one's going to see this. It is just going to be the inside. So I'm gonna just use this as a guide. I don't want to actually touch the photograph with the black ink, which is why a pencil would have been better, but never mind. I'll draw down there. You can see how careful I'm being, and it's because I am such a klutz with things like this. Anything that requires exact measurement or just general care, I struggle with, and so I'm always really careful. If I had lots of these vintage photographs, it wouldn't matter so much, but this is the only one that I currently have in my stash. It is something that was in a stash of die cuts, I think, that I bought. Again, most of you who have watched my journal, Echo Journal Manifesto, know that I have been hoarding craft supplies for years and haven't had the confidence to really use them. It was sort of like shopping for them was like an aspirational hobby. And finally I bit the bullet and just started watching lots of YouTube tutorials like the one you're watching now, but the ones I watched were a lot more professional than this. And I learnt from them that it doesn't matter if you make mistakes and it's okay. So I decided I was going to have a go. And then what happened was I realized that I really wanted, given the climate crisis that we're facing and the way materials are generally kind of deemed quite disposable in our society, I wanted to do something that was environmentally friendly, or, you know, if possible, environmentally friendly. So I had all this journaling stuff that I bought before, and I said, okay, fine, you know, I'm going to try and use that. But by the same token, I didn't want to buy new materials when I already had plenty. So I made a pact with myself. I made a little manifesto, which you can watch. I'll link to it below. That essentially says, what I'm trying to do here and how I'm trying to be good with the environment. And hence why I'm choosing a cereal box to cut up rather than going to some craft paper. Now, as I say in my manifesto, this is not me judging anyone who wants to buy craft paper. Do your hobby as you enjoy doing it. This is just how I want to do it, because that's what sits right with me. So now I'm going to have to cut 2 sides of that out with the knife. I really wanted to just use my scissors, but it's just, no, it's not going to work. I must cut at least 2 sides to be able to get in there. These are the lessons you learn when you just try stuff. I have no idea how this is going to turn out. It might not turn out very well. If it doesn't turn out very well, then it's just been a learning curve. But I'm really hoping that it'll turn out okay. I've not seen this done on other channels, though I am absolutely certain someone will have done it. Because, so many creative people out there doing their crafting. And of course, someone has at some point sat down and made a photo frame out of cereal box or something similar and put a vintage photo in it. Of course they have. But I haven't watched a tutorial on it. It's just something that I thought of when I saw the 2 identically sized pieces of card sitting next to each other. I thought that would make quite a good frame. So it's not going to be the most perfect frame in the world because it's me cutting it out. But there we go. Basically, that is a frame. And I just hope that, I think I've just about cut it so that the photo fits in there without actually seeing any of the edges of the photo. Just about, yeah. I'll glue it in place before I stick these together, and then I'll just, that should fit fine. But of course, that looks fine, but I know it's a cereal box. It's surprising, actually. It doesn't look too bad because the inside of the cereal box is kind of interesting. But what I was hoping to do was to cut up some strips of book page. Here we go. Here's where I start to get creative and things start to go wrong. But let's see how it goes. I think I've seen tutorials where you can essentially wrap strips of ribbon around photo frames to kind of customize them. So I'm going to try and use some book page in the same way, because book page is such a nice neutral base. And what I can do once I've wrapped it around the photo frame, it doesn't matter how neat this is, by the way, that's why I'm being very scrappy about it, because it's just going to be wrapped. Once I've wrapped it around, I can embellish it if I want to. So let's see how this goes. It's so funny. I feel so anxious almost when I try something like this, even though the stakes are really low. So what? If something doesn't quite work out, it's fine. It's only a bit of paper and I'll be able to use it for something else. So it's fine. So actually what I'm going to do is, I'm going to get the text the right way up. It's the first thing I'm going to do. And I'm going to just wrap that under there. And then I'm going to what I'm going to do is I'm just going to glue down at the corners. I'm not going to stress it at all. I'm just going to glue some extra pieces of book page to the corners, and then I'll just cut around it. It'll be fine, she said confidently. Okay. So that's the most difficult way to cover a piece of cardboard with a book page. But I actually really like how it's turned out. I know I could have just sewn strips down and I probably would have had a pretty nice effect from that, but I really like this. So what I'm going to do though, because I'm not convinced about the security of it, is I am going to sew around the edge. It's not necessary, I don't think. It's just, it will give me peace of mind. And I'm already thinking about how it's going to look when we put that in. And when I get it nicely arranged, it's going to look, I think, quite cute. It is just, the hole is just going to work as a size. So that's quite nice. But what I am going to do whilst that's just the glue is drying on that is I'm going to cover the back of this with some brown paper bag, because one, it's a simple task after all that, so I'll feel really gratified, but two, she says confidently, but two, it would be quite nice if this was an actual journaling spot. And this is fine, but I would just prefer it if it had the paper bag over it. And paper bag looks pretty good when you really smooth it out with glue. With your bone folder on the back of something, it looks kind of vintagey, and I'll maybe distress it as well. And then I'll glue the inside as the back panel and just trim it down and make sure that there's none of it showing. In fact, I might just trim it down now. Why waste paper? I did say that I would allow myself to just trim off some tiny edges if I needed or wanted to. So this is my me cashing in on that offer to myself to make things easier. Yeah, I just those little edges there, I'm just going to trim those down to make sure there won't be any blue showing. So let's have a look. I think this might be a bag that I was testing some paint on, but that's okay. It doesn't really matter. I just want enough bag to cover the back of this, or roughly cover the back of this. It doesn't even matter if it properly does. I just want it to look kind of vintagey, so that's fine. So let's get this really well covered with glue. Get that book page from underneath because it's now in the way. Let's get that in there like that. Piece of book page, desperate to get in there. I have got all my cuttings here, which is not helping me. Ugh, you know. The other YouTube channels make it look so easy. I can tell you that it's not. Okay, let's get this pressed down properly with my bone folder so it is as flat as it can be, as crease free as it can be. So that's, paper bag is so good for this. Look at that, just brilliant. Just makes a really nice backing, and it's just such an accessible piece of ephemera. I don't mind that corner's not quite covered. It's a junk journal, people. It's a junk journal. It's all fine. But now, once that's dry, I'll be able to write on the back of it, which will be really nice. It'll be a nice little journaling spot. I do like that vintage photo as well, so it's going to make a really nice little journaling spot. Have you ever done this? Have you ever taken a piece of junk like this and made yourself use every single part of it? I'd love to know in the comments. That's it. Great. So, just pull it off. That's lovely. I'll just trim that off there. There we go. So that can just dry. And that's nicely covered now. Some of you are probably thinking I can't really see much difference to before, but to me I can tell the difference. So that will go like that, and the photograph will cover the blue, but if I think any might peep through, then I may cover the blue with some more paper bag just to kind of make sure it's 100% hidden. But I don't know, I think we're going to get away with it. I think we're just about going to get away with it. So I think it's going to work out well. And then obviously I can look to putting some little embellishments on this top frame. So let me go and do my sewing around the edge, see if my sewing machine will go through this. And then you can see on the back what it looks like. It doesn't matter because no one's going to see that. And then I will be back to glue everything in. We're almost there with this, almost. Okay, I don't know how well you can see it because I've used white stitching, and confession time, this, you know, I'm new to using this sewing machine, okay, and it came with white thread already in it, and so that's why I'm doing everything with white thread. If I had the confidence to rethread my own sewing machine, which I don't yet, and I will over time, when you see me with black thread or pink or yellow or something else, you know that the time has come where the thread has run out and I've had no choice but to go in there and thread it. So black, I think we can all agree, probably would have looked better for contrast, but really it's just to hold it in place, and it does give a little detail, and if I really wanted to, I could actually just pen over it, you know, but I'm going to leave it as is because I do think it looks quite cute. It's perfectly fine. I've decided that I am just going to quickly add some paper bag to this because I am paranoid enough to believe that I will get everything in place, and then guess what? You'll see some blue cereal box peeking through and I will be not that pleased. So let's play it safe and get the paper bag and do exactly what I just did, where I placed it on and then used my bone folder to go over it. Just get rid of that so this is a sort of slightly easier job. Let's do it that way. Okay. Now you can still see a bit of the blue there, but it's not as obvious, I don't think. I don't want anyone to be able to look at this and think, that used to be a cereal box. I want them to think, oh, that's a nice frame. Okay, so to make sure that this is basically going to be covered, I'm just going to put glue down all over on top of this back piece. And then I'm going to put it all down at once. I'm going to put some glue down here, which will help the stitches stay in. Even though I've tied knots, it'll help. And then we'll just get it all put down in one go, and it will be hopefully the right fit. I wouldn't mind actually if it was a bit askew, but I'd like to try and get it in the right place. Just a little bit further up will do the trick. If there's an easy way of doing this, please do. I know that the easy way of doing it is to cut a smaller hole, but besides that, please do tell me in the comments how I could have made this bit a bit easier on myself. There we go. That's pretty much good enough. I just scooch you over there. I like that. And then press everything down. And if there's anything on the edges showing, guess what? I'll be trimming those off. So just move it around a bit. Get it where I want it to be. And then I'll trim off anything off the back that I want. not too worried about anything showing on the back because that's just for me really. And frankly, I could quite easily just, which I'm going to do, just ink it up. So I'm going to do that to hide all my sins at the edges. So this goes to show you that actually it would be more prudent to cover these corner bits up if you don't want any showing. It doesn't bother me, but just so you've got something that won't show any blue. But I'm going to just see what some distress ink does to this and just see if I can essentially cover up my sins. So I'm just going around now and distressing the paper, covering up any sins. I've done so on the back as well. I'm doing that near the inside edge and the outer edge of the frame to really give it that sort of worn look, and you know, like it's been sitting in a drawer. I just love that. Okay, I think that's working quite well. Maybe a little bit more on this side to make it even it up slightly. But you get the picture. Literally. Here all week. Right. That is looking pretty nice. I just would like an embellishment or two on the frame. What to choose? I'm just wondering if I've just got a nice little butterfly that would go somewhere. Just picking at random because, you know, I don't want to spend forever, having spent forever on the actual photo frame itself. I think I might go quite minimal and do that. Let me just see if I want any other colours or if I'm happy with those. So those look quite pretty cute. Let's see, let's just change one out. Too much of an attention seeker. The same as before, same colour as before, but a bit big. These are stickers as well, so I kind of want most of them to be on the actual frame. Otherwise they'll get damaged over time. I think I'm just going to stick with the first two that I chose because they look nice. Yeah, okay. Right. I don't want to overthink this because we'll be here all year. This is clearly going to be a part one of a video, and then I'll do the part two with the other bits and pieces. Okay, so here's the first little butterfly going on. It is a sticker, so as much as I can place on the photo frame, the better. Lovely. And again, just a little something. I don't want it to go over the edge too much. I'm just going to let that stand off a little bit and get non-sticky, and then it'll just kind of poke out. That'll be fine. So there we go. Vintage photo frame. Once a cereal box and now a journaling spot.